Great to have you with us in our first story. The sudden demise of the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission and former General Secretary of the governing MPP has thrown the country into a state of shock and disbelief. News of Kojo Osefriye, popularly known as Sir John, broke last night, leaving many in utter shock. He is believed to have died from COVID-19 after testing positive. National Chair of the New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blake, confirmed the death to JoyNews last night.
Yes, I've also just heard it. About 3 people have also telephoned me to inform me. I am still in a shock. I'm trying to, as it were, digest it. I still don't believe it, but since you've heard it, I believe it is true. A couple of days ago, I was informed that he's been taken ill. I wouldn't know the nature of illness, but I thought it was not a very serious illness and that he was recovering and he was at home. It's only right now that I've just learned that unfortunately he's passed on. He was a General Secretary of the party and he was the MD for Forest Commission. And we've been together a couple of times lately, about 3 weeks ago I was in his office. He was very hale and hearty. We cracked jokes. And, it's been a very witty, healthy, full of life. It's a big loss, I must say, if what we are hearing is true.
Now, Sir John is largely noted for his influence in Ghana's politics, one many describe as a force to reckon with in Ghana's fledgling democratic state. Head of JoyNews' political desk, Evans Mensah, tells us more about what he stood for in Ghana's politics.
Well, it's sad evening, sad day. Sir John, I interviewed him twice actually last year when there was a lot of controversy surrounding the Forestry Commission. He's always been affable. In fact, I describe him as a friend. Sir John travels and I'll call him and always trying to get him to come so we have a conversation. And he has this way of approaching politics and being absolutely blunt with the way he approached issues, which I like. It's one of the things that endeared me to him because of the way he simply took on issues. The last time I interviewed him must have been the last quarter of last year when we had I've seen that you played that interview back. He was his usual active, vivacious self when we spoke. This is a tragedy. It's a tragedy for the country. It's a pretty bleak day for the New Patriotic Party family, and our hearts go out to his immediate family. We must spare thought for his immediate family, for his son. Sir John is loved by many people, even his opponents. I can tell you on authority, admired him. He reached across the political divide. Those of us who were privileged to know him knew how those, even within the NDC, respected him. When what you see Sir John do in the public space, as in when you turn on the camera, and his tenacity, his goading of the NDC, that is not who he was in private. In private, he was a very loving person. He puts on that persona that you see on television.
And that was Evans Mensah, head of our political desk. We are still remembering Sir John. And as we know, he was chief executive of the Forestry Commission. Maxwell Agbagba has been to their office. He is currently at their office this morning. Maxwell, it must be a very sad state at the office of the Forestry Commission.
Exactly, Daniel. It's a somber atmosphere here at the Forestry Commission, very close to Gimpa. Where I'm standing is one of the parking spots for the former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. When you come here, what is conspicuous is the red bandanas that have been that are on a lot of the railings, the doors, on a lot of the trees here. A lot of the workers here are also wearing black, signifying the mourning and the grief that is, currently ongoing here at the Forestry Commission. We've been trying to get the workers here, some of the workers here, to speak to us, but as it stands right now, they're unable to talk to us because they tell us that they are waiting to officially hear from the family of the late Sir John. So as it stands right now, they are unable, to speak to us. But we've been standing at the frontage, monitoring those, coming in. All of them, majority of them who heard the news, in the morning on radio and on TV and on social media also are walking in morning, clothes. Many of them tell me, one gentleman that I spoke to earlier told me that he heard the news on social media. He said he woke up around 5:00 a.m. to check his phone. He saw quite a number of messages in some of his work-related WhatsApp groups. And that was the point that, he heard the news that Sir John had passed on. And today when he was coming to the office, he decided to come in mourning, clothes. It's grief here right from the gate. The security men here, you can see that morale is, quite down. You can see, the atmosphere itself is one that induces, tears. Many of the people I've been speaking to here tell me that Sir John was a great man, and we all know how he would use humor to communicate anything that he wants to communicate. There are times that you think that he's angry. They say that there are times that he's speaking to you, think that he's angry, but no. He's just being his humorous, self. And they say that this is a big loss, for the Forestry Commission. So this is one of the parking spots for him. It is empty. There's another parking spot just some meters away from this place. It is also empty. Kind of like symbolizing, telling you that yes, indeed, we've lost, Sir John. Daniel.
Maxwell, is definitely a very unfortunate incident. But have you been able to speak with any of those who worked closely with him? I know they have not come out to speak in publicly, as you said earlier. But what do they say about the kind of man he was to work with in the office?
And greater effort will have to be.
Are still numbed by his death, so as it stands right now, they're unable, to talk to us. But when you try to get something from them, one thing that runs through the common denominator of what we're getting from the people here is that Sir John was a great man. He was a humorous man, one who would always want to put smiles on the faces of people with his humor. Daniel.
Much Maxwell Agbagba coming to us live from the Forestry Commission, where Sir John served, or Kojo Osifie served as, where he served as Chief Executive Officer. So live on JoyNews Desk, we heard yesterday that Kojo Osifie, former General Secretary of the NPP and current Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, has passed a few weeks ago. It was leaked to the media that he was tested positive for COVID-19. It's unclear whether or not he had any other underlying conditions which may have contributed to his death. Let's now hear some snippets of the last interview that he granted us here at JoyNews.
get it. Okay.
I don't expect Akufo-Addo to give me a formal role, but whatever role that I would have to play to ensure that we win the 2016 elections, we will do so. Even if it is for us to clean and wash cars, we will do so.
Which role do you think you best play?
Our is very important to the people of this country.
Which role do you think you can best play?
I'll work everywhere. I'm a utility player.
So pardon me, that was an interview that Mr. Osefri had with Joy News prior to the NPP's winning the 2016 elections. That was a few years back. But he's been someone who's been very forthcoming with us here in the media. He's always had a very warm persona. You heard Evans Mensah describe him as a very kind man, and indeed a lot of people who came in contact with him can attest to that. It's been very difficult, I must say, even getting people to admit to the fact that he's dead and, of course, acknowledge what kind of person that he was. There's more that we are bringing you here on the bulletin regarding Mr. Osefri's death. Let's take another look at him in action, if I can say, speaking to the media.
What do you want this place to be by the time that you leave? What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, first of all, we have a lot of degradation out there. And I want to leave the Forestry Commission leaving a legacy of having planted these trees back and having made Ghana green again, and to put smiles on all of us, because trees help all of us to live and live very well. So I want to be remembered for that. So far, we've done 10 million trees. This year, I hope to do another 10 million. And by the time that we leave, after 8 years of Akufo-Addo's administration, we would have had over 80 to 100 million trees. And then thereafter, after Akufo-Addo left after 8 years, and there's a continuation by Baumia, we also have another same trees. So that would be fantastic, and that's what I pray for, and that's what I hope to do.
There's a lot I want to ask about that last comment, but I don't have time. Thank you very much, for joining us.
That was Sir John in the last interview he had with Evans Mensah. Speaking of his legacy, now Ohiming Teria is live from Sakura Wono in the Kwabre East District, where all inhabitants have been thrown into a state of mourning. That's where Sir John was from. Right, Ohiming, tell us about the mood at Sir John's hometown, Sakura Wono.
Yes, Daniel, in the Sakura Wono community, everybody indicating that indeed they are mourning the industrial expand of Sakura Wono. Sakura Wono is a small community in the Kwabre East municipality of the Ashanti region. And when I spoke to a resident earlier, everybody says Sir John has lifted the image of Sakura Wono, and it will take several decades for the community to produce the life of Sir John. Several decades, they say it will take for the community to produce the life of Sir John. Behind me is a family house, and people have gathered here in their numbers, not only at this family house, but in the streets of Sakura Wono. You see people in black and red cloth, indicating that indeed they are mourning the departed Sir John here. Let's speak to a nephew of Akakojo Osefri, Safo Edu Bernard. Yes. So help me understand this. How did the family receive the reports or news of demise of Mr. Osefri?
The family received the news with shock. So if we were expecting any news about the death of my uncle, not at all. The least that the family can think of.
Oh, sorry to hear this from you. Help me understand this. What will be the legacy of Akakojo Osefri? What will residents and the people of Sakura Wono remember Mr. Osa's years was a lot. See, my uncle was a development oriented man. And if you look around, he single-handedly supplied the township with light. Engineering it, and aside that, a lot of people have benefited from him. The CEO of Forestry Committee and a lot of youth have gained employment. They are now working under the Forestry Committee. Aside that, it's also paying a lot of steps. When it comes here,
and Ohibeng Teria was coming to us live from Sakra Wono in the Kwabri East District. If you are someone who listens to Sir John a lot or listened to him a lot, you would hear him refer to two things regularly, where he's from, Wono, and his church, the SDA church. He uses it in almost all the arguments, almost all the political debates that he has. We turn our attention from this subject. We move on with other stories, and there's been massive turnout in the ongoing EC registration exercise in the Bono East region, with safety COVID-19 protocols being adhered to, with the exception of social distancing protocols. JoyNews checks in most of the constituencies reveal more work needs to be done with regards to social distancing to avert any possible community spread of the disease. And Asabit has been engaging some leaders in the region and has filed this report on day 2 of the exercise.
Day 2 of the Electoral Commission's new voter registration exercise started slowly in most parts of the Bono East region due to early morning showers. Registrants, however, defied the rains to join the queues in their quest to get their voter ID cards. Whilst the use of the nose mask and the adherence to the hand-washing protocols were strictly observed in most areas, social distancing protocols were poorly observed at the various registration centers. Deputy Minister for Regional Reorganization and Development and parliamentary candidate for the New Patriotic Party in the Techiman South constituency, Martin Ajay Mensah-Korsah, tells Joy News that more work needs to be done in order to observe the safety COVID-19 protocols.
So far, it's been very smooth, very peaceful, except for some occasional delays. Otherwise, there's been peace, there's order. With regards to the protocols, it looks like there's still some work to do. I have visited since yesterday all the 20 centers in Techiman. In some few places it was okay, but in other places people still have to do a bit of distancing.
Though impressed with the conduct of the exercise, Mr. Ajay Mensah-Korsah called on the people to stick to the protocols in order to minimize the spread of the pandemic.
You can see, even here, some people are not wearing it, or they will draw it to their chin. But we need to keep enforcing it so that people can be safe and avoid the spread of this pandemic.
In the Kintampo North constituency, the situation isn't different. We met the municipal chief executive and parliamentary candidate for the New Patriotic Party, Michael Sarkodie-Bafo, in a monitoring tour of the exercise. He tells me the exercise has been largely peaceful, even though Kintampo North was once seen as a flashpoint during similar registration exercises.
I haven't heard anything from the police. I haven't had any report also from the monitoring team. And so I think relatively the exercise is peaceful. And the patronage is also okay. People are patronizing it. I think this is the most peaceful registration exercise ever in Kintampo. You know, this place has always been, it's one of the flashpoints. But for this particular one, this particular season, I think everything is going on smoothly.
We also spotted Mr. Adujan, who is the Director General of the Kofi Annan Center of Excellence in ICT. He disclosed to Joy News that the exercise has been one of the best so far as the voter registration is concerned.
In the past, we've had situations in which in the middle of it, they will say, oh, papers are jammed, we need ink, we need this to print. For the 3 constituencies that we have visited, we've never encountered that issue. It's going on smoothly. The printed machines are going on fine. The biometric machines are all functioning as clearly defined by EC. So I'm very much satisfied with the technology that we have deployed for this exercise.
He added that the collaboration between the 2 major political parties devoid of vigilantism is something worth commendation.
When I go, I look for both MPP and NDC agents to see how they are collaborating and they are working together. And so far, I see some kind of good relationship that after all, we are one people. And that is what I've observed. We don't have that vigilantism. Wherever we go, I ask the security, have there been any security breaches? All what they tell me is that no. So far as security is concerned, there hasn't been any breaches.
In all, the exercise has been generally peaceful, and with 4 more days to end the phase 1. We hope that the exercise will see some massive improvements, especially with regards to the COVID-19 protocols. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Kintampo.
Right, and that was Anas Sabit bringing us the latest from the Bono East region, i.e. Kintampo. And this is where we draw the curtains on this bulletin of Joy News Desk. My name is Daniel Dazi. I'll be back at midday to bring you Joy News Today. See you then.